I'm Scott Meek. Thank you for your interest in my online plane making class. In this video, I'm going to go over some of the tools that you're going to need to take the class. Some of these tools are necessities, and some of them are just nice to have. And I'll make sure to let you know which are which. Let's get started. First off, the bandsaw is probably the most versatile tool when making hand planes. That said, don't let the lack of one stop you from taking the class. There are other options that can take the place of the bandsaw, and I'll go over those. Like I said, the lack of a bandsaw should not stop you from wanting to take the class. All you need is a way to cut material to size and also a way to cut some angles. A cross-cut handsaw is a good option. A table saw also will work if you have a sled, and a cross-cut miter saw, or any compound miter saw, sliding compound miter saw will work as well, and a mixture of these tools will work. Next, you're going to want a drill. Any cordless or corded drill will work. If you do have a drill press, you'll be even happier. A drill press comes in very handy for drilling some nice square, straight holes. But you can get away with just a regular drill. We'll just have to be very careful and possibly make some jigs to make some steps work. Along with the drill, you also want a countersink. You need a 3/8 drill bit. Obviously, you need a Phillips or whatever type of screws you're going to use. You need that. And then this is not a necessary item, and we can go over this during the class, but a 3/8 plug cutter is helpful if you want to make the cross pins that I make for my planes that I sell. Next, a block plane is a great addition. This is just an inexpensive Stanley that when I first got into hand tools that I have, hardly ever use it. Now that I've got my own block planes, I prefer my wood block planes. But low angle block plane is definitely something that you should have. But again, it's not a deal breaker. There are steps that we can take if we don't have a block plane. But I highly recommend getting it. Next, you want a chisel, just a 1/2 inch chisel, an 1.5 inch or 1.25 inch chisel is also a good idea to have. But if you don't have one, you at least need a 1/2 inch chisel. You're going to want a mallet for your chisels. You're also going to want a square. This is a 12-inch combo square. A 6-inch square will work as well. Doesn't have to be a combo square. Nice thing about the combo square is you can use the 12-inch as your straight edge as well. If you don't have a 12-inch square with a straight edge, you do want something that you can check the sole of the plane for straightness. So any type of straight edge or a straight reference plate. You also want a way to dimension your stock. So we just need a way to join our edges and take our material down to a certain thickness. A powered planer and joiner will work. If you do all your dimensioning with hand tools, that will get you through as well. Need a protractor. This is just a protractor with an arm attached onto it. That is what I prefer because it's a lot easier to set up and mark your angles out. But even a school protractor, any protractor you can set angles and make lines off of will work. Need a bastard mill file. Sandpaper. I like 150, 180 grit. And this will be for the end of the class when you go to shape your plane. You also need some clamps. I prefer the Bessie parallel jaw style clamps. I'll use about 5 of these on a 12-inch plane blank. The key is you just want enough clamps to create even pressure when we glue up the plane. Keep in mind what kind of clamps you've got and make sure that you've got enough. We can also, if you have less clamps, we can also make cauls to clamp things as well. Another item that can be helpful, but again not necessary, is a marking gauge. I prefer a wheel style marking gauge. If you don't have one, again, that's not a deal breaker, but it is helpful. Next, we need a way to cut our groove for the cap screw. I prefer a laminate trim router with a spiral cut bit. You can also do the same thing with a router table or a full-size router and a 3/4 inch bit with stops and fences. I prefer to use this, but as long as you've got a router to cut that. If you don't have a router, you can do the same thing with a mortising chisel or even regular chisels. You're gonna have to sharpen edges quite a bit, as we are chopping into end grain, so it will be pretty tough on chisels. So mortising chisel can do the same thing. Next, you're going to need a way to shape the plane. I use a mixture of my bandsaw, rasps, this is a coarse cut rasp, spoke shave, and an edge spindle sander. If you have only one of these, or some of them, or not all of them, there are other ways to do this as well. Basically, you just need a way to rough the shape out. I use the bandsaw to rough it out. You can also use a coarse rasp to rough the shape. The nice thing about a spoke shave is that it removes material, and it also leaves a nice finished surface. But you don't have to have this. You can do the same thing with sandpaper. As for a spindle sander, it comes in very, very handy for making a plane for multiple different aspects of it. If you do not have a spindle sander, I recommend getting 3-inch PVC and wrapping it with some adhesive-backed sandpaper. Probably about a 6 to 12-inch piece of PVC is all you need, and multiple grits of paper you're gonna want as well. So a couple more items that are not absolutely necessary, but they do help in different steps. But again, don't let this stop you from taking a class. Plane maker's floats do come in handy. If you have them, you'll probably use them. If you don't have them, there are other ways to get away with it. I hope that this helped you visualize what tools are necessary for making a plane in the class. Again, not everything I mentioned is necessary. Some of them just make jobs a little bit easier. But if you have any questions on any of the tools that I mentioned, if there's something you don't have, please don't hesitate to use my contact page on my website and send me a message. Ask me anything, anytime, and we can usually find a solution in some other tool that you might already own. With that, I hope to see you in one of my classes. Thank you.